All right, while the others are coming on back in, I'm going to share my screen. And I don't need audio, so that's fine. Okay. All right, can you guys see my screen okay?
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah.
right, so I am going to GoGuardian.com and I am going to sign in. When you do sign in, and Crystal and Chris, if you're back, you should be on here. I do want you to test this at some point today. You don't have to do it now, but you'll log in with Google. And provided that you're on a Chromebook or you're logged into Chrome and you're using it, you will go straight here. Your screen should look like this when you log in with Google. So you probably won't have any classes on here, but yeah, this is how it'll look. It'll say classrooms on here. So look good? Okay, so again, I'm going to do a quick preview of all the sections first, and then we'll get down to the nitty gritty, and we'll maybe share any best usages too, because I know Shannon, you use it, Melissa, you as well. I think you've used it. So these are the classrooms that I have imported into GoGuardian. The easiest way to work with GoGuardian is to, with this button over here, click on Import Google Classroom. So any Google Classrooms that you are a teacher on, or you're assigned as a teacher with that level, you could be a co-teacher in the class. You should still be able to do this. If you click that, it will bring up a list of your Google Classrooms. You might have to do some logging in and first time things, but these are all the ones that I have some sort of teacher role in. So if I just click one and then choose import on the bottom, it should just bring it in, and it brings in all the students too. So it's super easy to do. If you just want to add all of them, you can, and they'll all show up. Nothing happens. It doesn't automatically apply filters or anything like that. So once you do that, you automatically have the ability to basically supervise your students digitally. And what that means is whenever you start a class, you can just click on this blue button here, and you're off and running. You can go in there and see what they're doing. I'll go ahead and show what that looks like, though none of the students should show as active on here. But immediately what I can do is watch all of their screens and have some controls on opening and closing tabs, sending them messages, even calling on them. I could even supervise a classroom just from this screen without being around them or near them or in the same room with them. I have watched other people's classes, kind of supervising them from afar, for example. I did this for Sonia's group, I think, just to kind of see and help her watch them to see what they're doing. So you have an assistant in your class, they could do this. They could help do this and supervise for you and kind of play whack-a-mole. This doesn't replace, using classroom management, the control we have over, with proximity and things like that. So that's always the best thing to do. I personally don't use this. I don't watch this screen because then I feel like I'm having to multitask. So please don't feel like you have to use this particular part of GoGuardian, but especially when they're doing independent work, this can be super helpful. Okay. I can open tabs, I can close tabs, I can apply a scene if I feel like I need to. We'll talk about scenes in a minute. I can turn on and off a chat feature. I'm not going to go into these tabs up here. I do encourage you to explore them. Just a quick note on the screen too. If you see a student on here twice, and it might look a little suspect, sometimes they have their computers logged in at home. If they have a desktop computer at home, for example, and they're still logged in on that, it might look suspicious. It's probably nothing. However, if they have their computer open and they're doing stuff and you only see one square for them on this and it's showing nothing, let us know, because there's a way around everything, right? They will find it. There's ways that they could circumvent. I don't know what the ways are, but they can get around GoGuardian if they really, really worked hard at it. So one of my favorite places here is timelines that shows per student what they are spending their time on. So as this ticker goes by, it'll show icons indicating which website they're in. And you'll see these little blips of like where they're going over somewhere real quick, doing the clicker thing, or watching a quick YouTube video and then coming back. So this even shows a report where you can indicate to them, hey, I noticed that you're doing this. If I see that happening more and more, I'm going to apply a scene. So just don't do it. Cool. Any questions about this? Part of the beauty of this is just how simple it is. Cool. Okay, I'll go on to scenes next. So scenes are basically a collection of websites. Well, no, it's really an environment that you can apply to a class. So let's say, for example, I have a computer science class. I have 2 resources that are the only ones that they should ever need for that particular class. And they should never have to go anywhere else on that. And that might be a programming webpage like Code.HS, and the other might be Google Classroom, right? I could literally create a scene that the only thing allowed for that period of time is those 2 tabs. They can't open another tab. They can't close those tabs. They can't open a different website. I can lock them down as much as I need to with that. For example, with this general middle school one that I created, I could have a list of like 50 websites that I just don't want them to go to. Otherwise, they can open up anything else they want to. So the way to think about this is, are you taking an allowed mindset, or are you taking a blocked one? The allow one is for when, example, you only want them to access websites that you allowed. You can see that verbiage right here. Okay. That helps keep them focused. The downside there is if they needed to go anywhere else, you would have to give them permission. You'd have to open it up to them. Or you can take the blocked website approach, and the world is their oyster except for the websites that you determine. So if I click here, for example, for general middle school, this is just one I created that was based off some other lists. And yes, there are lists that already exist that you can use. I'll talk about that quickly too. And it has all these websites in here. This really speaks to like how difficult this can be. Like 10 of these are those damn cookie clicker things, right? And the problem is with a blocked website approach is that by the time I've blocked these, there's 10 more that someone out there has created. So that's one of the difficulties with taking this filtered approach, is that it's really just impossible. It's whack-a-mole. So anyway, it is a way that you can go about it. Quick lists is something that exists where there's lists that GoGuardian already has. So you can pick from their lists that exist already. We do not have any larger shared lists. Perhaps we should, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And this auto tabs feature is something that exists no matter what approach that you're taking, and I just wanted to take a minute to talk about it. Open auto tabs makes it so that when you apply this scene to a classroom, it will automatically open up whatever tabs that you want. So if you didn't even want to bother having them open tabs, or for example, with the lower school, I know you guys are high school, but with lower school, it's hard to type in website addresses. So you can make it so it automatically opens some tabs for a scene that you're applying. So you might want to create a scene specific to one class, make it so tabs automatically open up and everything else is shut out. So you should be starting to get a sense now of, hey, I can really help my students focus if I invest a little bit time in creating a scene and doing some work in GoGuardian. Okay, I'm going to go back to that front page for here. if I do a list for a scene for allowing, you really just need to give it a name, a description to help you identify it later, pick a color, and then after that, let's do HS photography. Any questions while I'm doing this so far? I'm kind of jamming through this. Photo websites on the next. Oops. Then you can see on there, I can start adding the websites here. It's really quick and easy. I still have quick lists here. So, you know, if I have a shared one or whatever, I can work with that here. I do want to go back to general middle school. And, you know, these 3 dots here, the snowman, this is always when there's extra options, when you need a smaller menu to pop up. One of the things I wanted to point out is if you worked with a couple colleagues and developed a list, or you just had one that you think is excellent and you wanted to share out, you could share a list with someone. For example, I bet there's a lot of middle school teachers that would like my middle school list just because I've invested the time. So I could send this out to the whole group. So keep that in mind as you work together on this too. Another thing we could do is, just thinking bigger, we could create a Google Doc of all the websites that seem to be problematic and even have a stored list of those. Again, I don't like using the blocked website option because it's just a nonstop game of adding more and more websites. So, okay. Calendar. So the way the calendar works is, let me give you an example of how this could work. I have tech and engineering, for example. You can see this is already on here from 9:35 to 10:20, twice a week. My students are already in there. I already have a scene that I want to have applied. I might have tabs that I might automatically have opened. The nice thing about the calendar is now I can make it so these scenes are automatically applied at a specific time every day to my class. When they walk in the door, I can just trust that this is happening automatically. So by default, when they open up their computers, they only have 2 tabs open. They can't go to other websites. A scene is automatically applied. Boom, done. I never have to touch it. The danger of doing this is if we have a modified schedule or anything else changes where the students might be somewhere else, that scene will still be applied to them. They could be in a different classroom. They could be in a makeshift college readiness class. And if they're locked out of other things, that's going to be a real bummer. So this is a really powerful thing, but if you do it, you really have to be cognizant of if your students are doing something else, you need to cancel it for the day or something like that. Okay, so be aware of that. Does that make sense, the calendar? Yeah, pop back just for a second. Okay, just to see faces, make sure everyone's still there. All right, cool. Student reports. This is really good because it could be informative about different scenes that I've applied in the past, or automatic classes that are already happening and will report back to me what the students were doing. I'll just give you an example. My tech and engineering section 1 in there, I have Luca, who's been he's got a real issue with impulsivity with his Chromebook. I pick a date range, 1 student, 1 class, view report. And now I can see in here how Luca's been typically spending his time. So I can see documents, I can see Google searches. Most importantly for me right now is websites. So I can see there's a great amount of time done on YouTube. And this website here, no idea what it is, but lo and behold, if I click on it, I find out it's yet another cookie clicker that I don't have blocked in my list. So that's proof right there of how hard filtering can be. The other sites look legitimate, but this helps inform me of like how else I need to be helping Luca spend his time. So this can be super helpful, especially if you're using it a lot. It also gives me some data here too. Tabs closed. I had to close a tab on him once. I had to lock his screen once before because he wasn't supposed to be using his computer, so I just kind of shut him down. So, okay. Detailed browsing history too. So yeah, I can see a lot of stuff in here. So I am going to stop here for a sec. I tell you what I'm going to have you guys do. Let me stop my sharing. Just because I can tell by HVAC guy who's here, looks like he's ready to report to me and head out. So if you guys could please make sure you can go log in, GoGuardian.com, sign in with Google. Hopefully there's something here that I showed you that you have not done before. Go in there and try something out, and I'll be back in a minute, and then you guys can report in. I'll be right back. And I'll leave the mic and chat on and stuff if you guys need to talk. All right, and I'm back. I would love to hear from you guys with maybe like a last minute or two. Any impressions, any questions, any anecdotes? Helpful? Anything new that you learned?
I have a quick did you know thing.
Please. And even share your screen too if it's helpful, Joseph.
Yeah, okay. I probably can figure out how to do that.
Or don't, either way.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. All right. So when you do the allowed list, which is the way that I use for my classes, and what Topher said, by the way, about setting up scenes to start and end at a certain time is great for normal, but then when the schedule changes, you can end up with kids panicked, sending you emails like, open up my, anyways, with the allowed list, I have one that I call just Google Docs and Cami, where it's when I want them to just be doing independent work, but I don't want them going off of Google Docs. There's a million different Google sites that they will need to have access to not end up getting stuck. Like Google Drive, like drive.google.com is something they'll have to have access to. And so my best practice for that is that when you have a scene applied and they start trying to do stuff that's not in the scene, a little thing will pop up on their screen, on that screen where you can see all of their screens, and you can allow it and add it to the scene. And so while the students are doing it, I did that a lot. And now I have a list of like, I don't know, 30 or 40 allowed sites, but they're all like Google. I also added in like a dictionary, Merriam-Webster.com and something else, but it's the allowed sites is, I think, the absolute way to go. It's golden, works great. I also do like, if I have them working and I don't have a scene applied, I love having the access to see all of their screens. And because I'll see 7 people on a Google Doc and 1 person playing cookie clicker, and then I'll just put in a chat window to that one student, please focus, or switch them over to the different tab.
Yeah. I'd imagine too, if you're wanting to, sorry, I don't know what happened here. Well, let me go back between my screens. Okay, there you guys are. I'd imagine too that sometimes it's actually nice. I mean, if they are working, especially if they're writing and whatnot, you can even kind of just tap in, and as long as you let them know, because otherwise, wow, that's kind of lurky. But
yeah,
kind of just do some spot checking too to see. I'd imagine like if they were doing some artwork with Snetta, or photography with me, or Elise, if they're doing some college work, right? You can kind of check in, and I mean, it's not much different than poking over their shoulders, as long as they know that you're doing it. So, but yeah, to Joseph's point too, I mean, there's a time for that, and then there's I mean, especially for the middle schoolers, like Carla and I have found that more and more are using GoGuardian just to watch the screens that way, and just sitting at their desk, and nothing really does beat as far as behavior management. So it's a blend, right? But high schoolers, of course, are more, we want them to be more self-sufficient. So yeah, cool. Any others? Thanks for that, Jeff. Oh, the reason I was starting to do that Google Doc was just to show, let me share. I think in those lists too, you can do wildcards, and a lot of Google services, like you've got like docs.google.com and calendar.google.com. If you do a wildcard, an asterisk.google.com, it should then allow anything that has something.google.com to be used.
That's a fun DOS command from back in the day.
Wow, you went there. Yeah, so that's what and I think GoGuardian has a queue in there about wildcards and how to do that. But if you need to know, yeah, because there's other websites, I can't think off the top of my head what they are, but they use subdomains like that, like Google. So checking to see who all is here. It doesn't look like Crystal made it, so I'll have to maybe send this on to her or meet with her later. Any other questions, clarification, conundrums, complaints, queries?
I had a question. What about when you're subbing for a class? Do you have to have like Google Classroom access? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So try to think of best practice for this. I mean, a lot of subs that we have increasingly do have accounts. I don't know exactly what to do about that yet. I do think that I'm going to create one account for anytime we have an on-call sub who's not here every day, who's not on on salary, I might just include that person, substitute at chartwell.com, on every Google Classroom and just kind of enforce that, because then they could have access to that. But to expect them to know and use GoGuardian if they're an on-call sub, I feel like if you are savvy with GoGuardian, just go ahead and set the scene in the calendar and just do it for them. And if you have it fine-tuned enough, it should be fine. Maybe have the movie as a backup. But I think that's probably best practice. People who are subs, but they're on staff, and since they're full-time subs, then I am going to try to make sure that everyone's trained up in this. But yes, they would then need to, in order to import it into their account, they would need to be a co-teacher in Google Classroom. That is not something that automatically happens with Facts. The only thing with Facts is it sets up your class and puts you as the teacher. So you can always add them as a co-teacher if you need to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Others? Okay, in respect for time, because we are over 3 minutes, I'll let everyone go. I'll send this recording on. And however you spend your next week, enjoy it.
Thank you. Bye.